Hello, everyone. I am Miriam Haugen. I'm part of the Creativity-Hive team. We help budding videographers achieve massive post-production skills through one-on-one teaching, live group coaching, and boot camps. Now live boot camps. Woohoo, isn't it great that we can actually be in the same room with people again? Um, Today we have an educator, Jeffrey Rhoades. He is a CTE teacher at a high school, teaching videography to high school students. So, hi, Jeff.
Hi, Miriam. Thank you
So,
so much for having me on today.
well, thank you for joining us because I just love all these different aspects that we get to touch on in our live stream. So, tell me about your background and how did you get to be a teacher and teach in the CTE program? What does CTE stand for?
That's a great question. CTE stands for Career and Technical Education,
Right.
and it is a federally sponsored program that promotes in all 50 states elective-based opportunities for students to focus on kind of the blending of technical skill sets with employability skills so that students can kind of start getting experience and exposure early on in their secondary high school, educational career on a pathway that meets, a particular interest of theirs. Back in the day, CTE was probably branded more as your wood shop and your home ec. And now we see CTE expanded into just such a wide variety of fields that really gives students exposure much sooner than ever before when it comes to a potential career pathway. And so I'm fortunate enough to teach at Central High School in Monmouth, Independence, Oregon, for a career and technical education program of study in multimedia design. And we focus on everything from photography to videography, broadcasting, webcasting, podcasting, just any kind of medium that gets information out through digital communications. And in terms of my background, getting started, I graduated from the local university here in Monmouth, Independence, Western Oregon University, in 2007 with a teaching degree. I just wanted to teach and had an endorsement in social studies. And started off my career teaching very traditional social studies classes, world history, US government, economics, world cultures. And as I was working on a master's degree, I looked into a emerging program that had started at the local university that was branded as Educational Information Communication Technology. And as I explored that master's degree, I discovered the world of CTE that was kind of just blossoming in Oregon, and really thought that this had a lot of potential and thought that it would be a way to continue to work with young people in the educational setting, but do it in a way that I thought might have a little bit more relative real world impact for those young people. And so when I finished this master's degree, I applied for the endorsement and was fortunate enough to start 10 years ago down in Southern Oregon, teaching in a program of study for video production. And recently this year relocated up here to Monmouth Independence and Central High School, and have been really excited about taking the program here that was started several years back, and really looking to expand and grow the horizons of multimedia design and opportunities for students here in the Monmouth Independence communities.
That is awesome. I am going to bring Mo and Neil onto the stream. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Miriam. Hi, Jeff.
Oh, so I think this is incredible because yeah, I was looking at the website actually for the school district and saw that students that are involved in CTE are much more likely to have higher graduation rates, and they if they can see the relevance to what they're learning. Sometimes it's hard. I think that world history is extremely important, but not all students can relate that necessarily to what they're going to do with their lives. And so how did you learn video and yourself? I mean, what training have you gotten there?
Absolutely. So I'm fortunate that the program at Western Oregon University kind of covers the multitude of information communication technologies that were prevalent in the early to mid 2000s. So we did a lot of work with digital photography, a lot of work with video production, web design and graphic design was a real popular budding medium at that point. Really, my experience came through some professional avenues that was participating in kind of part time to supplement my teaching income early on in my career. So I was a remote correspondent for KEZI News, where we would go out and record Friday night football highlights and send those back to the news station for being uploaded for the 11 o'clock broadcast. Woo TV, Western Oregon University TV at the time, was an in-house television opportunity that the university was trying to promote, where we were creating content and material to promote the university. So there were a lot of things that I was doing, just trying to um, take some of the skill sets that I had acquired in multimedia design and apply them into professional settings, just to make some spare income. And as I
Well,
went
and
through the
had dual, obviously you learn a lot in the process that is going, and I'm sure it looked great when they were looking to hire you for this position, saying that, oh yeah, he's got real experience.
Absolutely, and that's actually one of the requirements for CTE endorsements is you do have to have a certain set number of hours that come outside of a traditional classroom setting, that quote unquote real world experience. And that experience is what directly led to how I designed my classroom and my curriculum that I implement with my students, was to try to create more of a simulation and more of an environment that feels like a job site versus feels like being in a classroom. And so, students at Central High School, when they get started in the multimedia design program, they get introductory courses that focus on two primary things: technical skill sets. So, how to actually operate and utilize Adobe softwares, how to operate and work with specific equipment, be it cameras, microphones. Um, lighting techniques, all those kind of things are covered. And then there's a big component of the class that not only focuses on the technical skill sets, but that also then focuses on employability skills. And that's really where the marriage is tried to find within CTE, is how do we take that technical knowledge, allowing students to work towards certifications and be able to demonstrate that they actually have the knowledge and the application of these technical skill sets, but then pairing that with what employers are looking for when it comes to reliability employees. So, are these students that are showing up consistently on time? Are they communicating well? Are they collaborating and working well with others? Oftentimes, the employers that we work with, that we ask, what is it that you are looking for in prospective employees? They're more focused on some of those skill sets than they are the technical skill sets, where they feel that they can train employees in certain skill sets, but that reliability and that professionalism is something that they're often searching for. And so when students come through Central High School, they get a chance to kind of perfect both of those things. They get a chance to really learn the technical skills and how to apply them when creating projects, but at the same time, how to carry themselves as a professional so that by the time they do leave, they can go into interviews and they can go into the process of applying for jobs, feeling confident that they have what it is that employers are looking for.
Excellent.
Okay. And Jeff, tell me how are your classes constructed? I mean, if I was a student sitting there on a average Monday or Tuesday or whichever day of the week, how is it constructed to make it a little bit more interactive, like you said, and make it not seem like a school environment? Is there
Absolutely,
anything you
that's a
guys
great
do
question.
in like kind of particular that that sets you apart from the rest, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a wonderful question. So, the experience itself depends on where you are within the program of study.
Okay.
And to answer your question, I'm going to take one step back and kind of just do a really brief explanation of the concept of what in CTE schools strive for, which is students that meet a program completer requirement. And so,
Hmm.
to be a program completer, you have to take a set number of classes, spend so many hours doing work-based learning experiences, earn industry certifications. There's these certain check boxes to meet.
Okay.
So students in this school, it would depend on where they are within that timeline of program completing status.
Hmm.
If you were a student in an introductory level class for multimedia design, you would find yourself on any given day focusing on a couple of different things within the class setting. So once again, we do focus on teaching technical skill sets. So in the introductory classes, students are getting introductory and basic foundational understanding of some primary Adobe softwares,
Okay.
Photoshop, Illustrator, and Adobe Premiere are kind of our three baseline softwares that we really want students to gain a basic understanding of.
Sorry, you said Photoshop, Illustrator, and Premiere, right? Is it
Premiere,
correct?
yep, those are the
Yes.
three that we use just in the introductory level classes, the ones that we want them to have a baseline foundation for. So within those classes, students are going to participate in some tutorials. They're going to follow along with modeling. They're going to have an opportunity to kind of do a little pre-production and design outlines for a finished product that they would soon create.
Hmm.
But within that process of learning the basic foundations of the software, we try to incorporate within that learning process employability skills that they would do through the learning process. So a lot of times they have to reflect on their learning and they do it in the form of a cover letter. A
Okay.
lot of times students are going to collaborate in small groups to work as teams to create an end result project, which is something that they would see consistently within a working environment. So
Hmm.
that introductory level class is probably would focus the most, would feel the most academic from a traditional standpoint.
Okay.
Um, but everything is project-based learning within this program. So we don't really focus on taking pop quizzes and a test at every unit.
Hmm.
It's acquiring a skill set. So for an example, if we started off with Photoshop early on in the class, they would learn about the layering process. And
Okay.
so that layering process they would learn about through a guided tutorial. Then we would go through the software together as a class with me modeling what it is that they would want to follow along with, and then they would be given an opportunity to kind of demonstrate those skill sets on their own.
Right.
Once students have shown mastery at the introductory level, the opportunity for them to then specialize in more specific fields is what comes next. So
Okay.
students can focus on digital photography, video production, and broadcasting are right now kind of our three primary avenues in which we let students explore. And in those classes, I tend to look at those as more of a student-based enterprise than I
Hmm.
look at it as a class. And I tell my advanced students this when we start the class, is
Right.
that we're going to be working together as a team to create products that are going to help support and provide information and communication throughout our school. So one example of that would be our video production and our broadcasting class. A student in that class is going to come in at the beginning of the week, and rather than sitting down to a lesson, they're going to participate in a pitch meeting where we're going to pitch out different ideas for segments that are going to take place on our weekly broadcast. And
Okay.
so students would then share ideas of, well, hey, our agriculture program is doing a Mother's Day plant sale, and we would like to do a 30-second promotional video for the Mother's Day plant sale. And we want to include these graphics, we want to include this roll footage, and they are doing their best to present the information to me in a way to convince me to say, okay, let's take that project and run with it. So really based on where they are within the program, the
Mhm.
experience is going to vary. Undergraduate students, freshmen and sophomore students, are going to get a little bit more of a traditional academic experience as they master those fundamental programs. The advanced level students are going to take that knowledge of those programs and apply them within a enterprise simulation in which we work together to produce weekly news broadcasts, where we create signage for school plays and band concerts and productions that are coming up. Um, this upcoming year, we're looking to create. We're going to have an opportunity to create some short films to submit to the McMinnville Film Festival.
Oh,
So
cool.
really, it's about trying to get those students by the time they're a junior and a senior to experience not exactly, but somewhat of what it's like to be out working either freelance or for a production company and going through those different steps and experiencing what it's like to have a client, what it's like to interview the client and meet the client's needs. Um, just all of those different experiences that we want them to at least see, touch, and feel before they get out in the real world and have to do it one time on their own.
That's
So do
pretty
they,
interesting.
okay, I have a quick question. So are there, like, are you, how much direction is there in terms of like a national CTE program? And, these are the benchmarks that we want all of the students to meet. Uh, I assume there's something along that line. Or are you in a position where you can kind of design your own program?
So great question, Miriam. And it's a little balance of both. So there are actually no national standards when it comes to career and technical education programs. They
Yeah.
break them down by region and by state.
Okay.
So the state of Oregon does have specific learning targets that they outline for every CTE program. So ranging from culinary arts to agricultural sciences to construction to multimedia, there are certain learning targets that encompass a focus primarily on employability skills. That's the real focus that the CTE programs and the standards set by the state tend to work with educators on, is what are these skill sets that we want kids to come out with that are going to be almost universal, regardless of the technical skill, that these are what we want to see students have. And that's really the primary guidance that we get from an oversight group, which would be the Oregon Department of Education in this case. Now, we have at Central, we've also decided to incorporate the ISTE standards, or the International Society for Technology Education. So we do blend those learning standards as well, because we do have a big emphasis on citizenship, especially within the digital realm that my program tends to work with. We really heavily emphasize students understanding the role and the responsibilities of digital citizenship, and with them moving to such a digitally driven medium in which they're conducting so much of their business in this online format, that we want to make sure that we're preparing them for that as well. And then when it comes to uh, the direction of the program in terms of what we want our kids to focus on from a technical skill standpoint, that's where it's pretty open ended, and where I have a little bit more flexibility as the teacher in the classroom. So as long as I'm making sure that the students are getting the educational um, standards set forth by ODE, and that we're getting the citizenship standards set forth by ISTE, the content standards and the technical skill set is where I get to have a little bit more autonomy and allow to put in more personal input into the curriculum. And so that's where the direction of working with Adobe, working to start a certification program in which students can earn their Adobe Associates, um, and can have the experience of working with these softwares in the classroom has been incorporated through my decision. And then it's making sure that all of those technical skills are being polished off with the employability and the citizenship skills.
That's quite interesting that you said Adobe Associate. So do you guys tie in? How's the tie-in with Adobe? How do you guys construct that at the moment?
So we do have a 500 seat site license that we have here at the school. So
Five
that
hundred,
when
right?
every student comes into the program, they get set up with their own Adobe Cloud account that they get to carry with them throughout the school year. Then so this year was the first year that we offered students a chance to earn their Adobe certification. We had
Mm-hmm.
3 different students who worked with the Certiport testing process
Mm-hmm.
to earn their certification. We had 2 young men who got their Adobe Premiere certificate. One of those young men also got his Photoshop certificate along with Premiere. And then we had a young lady who got her Photoshop and her Illustrator certification. My goal is I would like to average around 20 students a year that come out of this high school with at least one certificate from Adobe in a software that allows them to add that to their resume and allows them to kind of put themselves, because once again, with CTE, all about being prepared and career readiness, those industry certifications are the way that we can really get our students up there. The school does pay for the not only the test, but also the learning course that's provided by Adobe, where I want to say it's like a roughly 21, 22-hour course
Yeah.
to kind of prepare them on how to take the test from Adobe as well. So the hope is that with 4 years of using the software within the classroom setting,
Mm-hmm.
plus the preparation class, that our students will have a really strong grasp and understanding of how to pass those certifications from Adobe. And like I said, this year we started off with our kind of our inaugural group of certificates, and we were able to get 3 students certified, which we thought was just at least from a starting standpoint, a great place to start, with hopes of growing that each year.
Right.
Well, that's quite interesting because it's great that the school is actually paying for not only the course, but also for the examination with Certiport, because it's not a cheap certification by any standard, right? And it that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks for people to get the certification, unfortunately, where the Certiport certification costs a bit of an arm and a leg, and it stops the general guy who really knows his stuff from even thinking about going and getting that certification. And there's this kind of unfortunate, confusing ACE status or state status, right? So Adobe's Certified Expert and American Society, ACE, American. Neil, what is ACE in the film industry? Something American something editor. So you'll see it, in big Hollywood movies at the end, the editor is ACE or James Cameron is ACE, but that's not Adobe certified, unfortunately.
Right.
That's cinematographers or something like that.
Yes, it's something or the
American.
other, but
Yeah. I have to look that
something.
up.
So there's that little bit of a shady gray area where most of the students get to see this on the big silver screen, right? And then assume, well, hey, I'm an ACE, and I'm going to get easily brought into a job situation where I've got this particular certification. So it's very important to define the differences. I find there's a lot of confusion with that at the moment. But the kind of pathway that the school is following to upskill and to the trajectory it's following for Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, etc. It's quite unique, and it's quite interesting that you guys have gone this route. Is there any particular reason you went the Adobe route and not anything else?
So one of the things that career and technical education really emphasizes is industry standard. And so I felt that Adobe would be the highest end industry standard software that would meet from a price point standpoint as well. So having to balance our funding from our grant and looking at what would give kids the best advantage after they were to graduate, that was kind of what I was looking for. So I was kind of looking for a marriage of wanting to set my kids up for success by knowing that they had a certification that that was universally recognized within the world of design. And at the same time, make sure that we could keep it sustainably from a cost standpoint, so that each year we could continue to renew our licenses, continue to pay for those certifications, and be in a situation where we felt like we were maximizing that value. When I first started down in Southern Oregon, I stepped into a program where the funding wasn't there to work with Adobe, and so we had to use some other softwares that were good and effective, but once again, I don't think that they were as universally recognized within the design community, within the photography community, the video production community, as high of an industry standard. And so that's really always our goal, is to try to update our equipment, update our technology, to really get as close to an industry standard experience for the kids as possible. Because once again, that's the goal, is that they can head out, with their certification in hand, with their resume built, and ready to step into something that doesn't feel like they got the public education version of it. They got the closer to the industry standard expectation experience of that.
Right. And you haven't looked. The one thing that I noticed you said or didn't say was that After Effects was somewhere in there, and I'm saying that because at the moment, well, for quite a while now, it's been the buzzword motion graphics, 2D motion graphics, a little bit of 3D, I guess. Is that something that's on the future roadmap for you?
So After Effects is one of the softwares that students get introduced to in the more advanced and higher level classes.
Okay.
So with that introductory level class, I kind of talked about the 3 pillars we use are Photoshop, Premiere, and Illustrator. But after that, when they get into the advanced classes, we open up to a lot more Adobe software. So After Effects is one of the softwares that my students get trained in and get to work on. I didn't have any students that felt confident in getting their certification in it this year, but I'm hoping within the next couple of years that will build, that I'll have more students confident in that. Adobe Animate is another one that, for an example, we use and we introduce in our video production class. InDesign is another Adobe product. So I would say by the time they're done with the program, they get exposed to anywhere to maybe 10 to 12 different Adobe softwares.
Okay.
And then it's by the time they become an upperclassman that they get to really define themselves, which is the one that they have a passion for. And
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
And that's my hope, as I've had students get exposure to After Effects, and they've been able to see a lot of the fun and creative things that they can do within there. I have a lot of students that have shown an interest to continue to grow within that. And so that's where I was talking about my goal or my hope for the future, is that if I was averaging around 20 students per graduating class getting Adobe certificates, that would range in a wide variety of Adobe softwares based on if this student really wants to focus on Illustrator and be more into graphic design, or if we have a student who really wants to do video production editing that's going to focus on Premiere and After Effects. So After Effects is definitely one of them that's on our advanced level list that students get exposure and experience to, that I'm hoping to grow our certification rate in the years to come.
And Jeff, my biggest question would be, they're exposed to a plethora of software solutions from Adobe, from InDesign down, print media, DTP, to Photoshop, and then Illustrator, and then After Effects, Premiere Pro, Audition. I'm sure somewhere in there for sound design. How are the instructors? Do your instructors, or does the staff certify, or do they? How are your classes constructed from an instructor perspective or point of view? I mean, are you guys kind of familiar with the software and draw out the curriculum and then get it out to them, or how is that? It's very interesting for me to understand that.
Yeah. So another great question. And when you say instructors, do be aware that technically that instructor is an instructor of one, that is me. So I'm the only one. Yeah, I'm the only one at the school that we're not quite big enough to offer to have multiple multimedia teachers. So that would be me.
Okay.
So all of the softwares that I teach, I have experience with. I'm not certified in all of the individual softwares, but I did back in my graduate study, got my Photoshop and my Premiere and my Illustrator certifications. And then what I've been trying to do over the last 10 years of my career is just to continue to educate myself and to continue to stay up to date. I attend multiple Adobe, the professional developments they put on, and a lot of those kind of things. When it comes to designing my lesson and designing for students, I kind of break it down into three different stages and steps. The first one is always a focus on user interface and familiarization. So really just understanding what it is that you're looking at on the screen. How has Adobe laid out the interface for you to interact with it? And just understanding the technical knowledge of using that specific interface. So everything from keyboard shortcut commands to just being able to know where within your file menus you can find the different settings and the different things you're trying to utilize. From that standpoint, once I feel like we've gotten an opportunity to understand our interface and our interaction with our interface is kind of so we're on motion sensor lights here, and my motion sensor lights just came off. So I'm going to step away for just one second and go wait for the lights to come back on.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Just one. No, it's fine. Yeah, so that's a plus.
All right, my apologies. My apologies. Okay. I'm glad that we're saving electricity here, but every now and then it'll do that. It'll turn the lights off on me.
That's funny. We had you sitting too still. So I'm curious. Do you have any personal projects? Do you like to, what do you do for fun?
So my personal passions lie a little bit more on the side of photography, but I do freelance with both photography and video production, mostly over the summer when I've got a little bit of downtime. But right now, from an enterprise standpoint, I've mostly worked within groups of friends and family that I know personally that request or ask that I could, photograph their wedding or photograph an event or do a video production for them. So I do a lot of that on the side, just kind of as once again, a little bit of a side income, but also just because I enjoy the process. And then throughout that process, I'm constantly thinking about how I can utilize what I'm doing to demonstrate or to provide information to my class. So one of the things that my students do in the advanced level class is they create a portfolio of their work. And so that's kind of what I'm constantly doing with these projects myself, is I'm looking at them as a way to update and keep my portfolio up to date. So I have an example of how to share and show that with students.
Is your portfolio public consumption or not? I'd love a YouTube link is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I will, at the end of this, I will get mine all set up and send it off to Miriam via email.
Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Fantastic.
But I'm always looking for opportunities to incorporate students as well. And I think, so one example of that you got to see last week, Neil and Miriam, was with our graduation live stream. So my program was responsible for putting on a live stream of this event to make sure that families that couldn't attend in person or live out of the state, could see their family member graduate. And so I was able to have several students who were able to work that process with me and operate our cameras and all of that kind of stuff. And so as I take on personal projects, I oftentimes think about how I can use those projects to incorporate either a work-based learning opportunity, a internship, a job shadow, even just to have young people just be on set or be in the area for a day just to watch and to absorb it. So this summer, I don't know how much I'll be doing as a new parent, but a lot of times over the summer, I'll have about 4 or 5 events that I will cover from a photography, videography standpoint, just to help those that I know, friends and family wise.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff says he's a new parent, right? Is that what you said? I don't know what his secret is, because for somebody that does pretty much most of the Adobe apps, right? Keeping up to date with them. Some of
Yeah.
them anyway,
Yeah.
and keeping abreast of what's happening and what's changing, what's new, and going through the courses. There's 24 hours in a day. You got to teach the students. They come in, it's a class, and then it's in design, and then there's a class and it's Premiere, and my brain is kind of churning because I'd go completely mad. So, what's your secret to looking as fresh and healthy and rosy cheeked? That's what I'm going to call it right now, as you do. Because, and by the way, when you went into the dark just now, I had a good laugh. I'll tell you why. Because it's great to see someone in the dark beside me for once. Because in South Africa, they load shed, so they cut off all your lights. You don't switch it on until they tell you, right? So it was great to see the lights go up on someone here instead of me for the change.
There've been a couple of our live streams where we're having the talk right before the thing goes live, like we were doing before this, and all of a sudden Mo's gone. 2 minutes before we're live stream, Mo disappears, and we know, dang, they hit him again. He's got no power. He's out.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. So how do you do it?
Great question. Great question. I don't know if I would say there's any one particular, trick or one particular quality or trait. I guess I would say the thing that I would say is that I've found something that I get to do for a living that I really enjoy and that makes me happy.
Right.
Awesome.
And when I decided I wanted to get into education in the first place, I knew right off the bat that I wasn't picking this profession for financial compensation. I was picking it because it gave me an opportunity to serve young people and make an impact. And I think teaching has done that for me, but more than anything, getting into education under the umbrella of career and technical education and CTE has opened that up more than anything. Because I feel like these programs, not just my multimedia program here at the high school, but our auto mechanics programs, our construction management programs, our culinary arts programs, I really truly believe those are the programs that our kids stay in school for. Yeah. That they come to school and they're not sure what they want to do. They're not sure if they want to be here. They maybe struggle in traditional academic classes like your math and science, but they get to go and they get to make their first ever video, and they find something within them as a person that connects to them and speaks to them, and it gives them value as a young person. Often when you're talking with 15, 16, 17-year-old young adults, they're not sure where they fit in our world.
Yes,
and they lack the confidence to really feel like that their contributions are just as important as us in our 30s and 40s and 50s. And so I think for me, knowing that every day I get to come into an environment in which the interactions that I have with these young adults truly leave an imprint on them that I can physically see, and that imprint changes their direction in life for a positive one, and opens up the doors that they didn't even know that they could open. And so on those nights where my son's up late at night and, I haven't slept from midnight to 5 because I'm on diaper and bottle duty, and I still have, like you said, staying up on top of my Adobe softwares and all that. I think that when I hit those lulls, as I drive in and as I step into this environment, I immediately have that sense of, I know what I'm doing and my passion for it is strong. And I think that's what really powers me through is just feeling the happiness in what I do for a living, and just focusing on that.
That is,
I think that is great. And that's actually a great ending about, and that you can get up in the morning and feel like you've got purpose and can make a positive impact on the world. That is incredible. So any parting shots, anybody? before we sign off?
Tons of parting shots on my side, but it'll take the next hour. So
Right. We don't want to get you started, Mo.
I mean, this discussion could go on for a couple days.
for a few days.
Go on. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff, and we will sign off. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you so much for having me.
Lovely
Thank you
to have
very
you,
much. I really appreciate the time today.
Passion power.